Welcome back to Rusty Jeep. Long time no see. I'm going to do a quick video on fixing this rear tub. When you get most Jeeps will get started in New England, at least will start getting rust in the tub, and I'm going to go over how I'm going to fix it. But I just want to finish up on the floorboards. The rear floorboard is done completely. I had to work in the pillar. I'm going to put a little bit of a video in. Now back to the floor pan. Now, in a previous video, I cut out a section of this floor pan, and it's a pain in the butt. I was only going to replace a part of the floor pan, but then I was sanding from underneath, and I started seeing more rust, and the metal was pretty thin, so I thought it was better off that I just take the whole floor pan out and do the whole damn thing since I'm already here. Why not? A couple of things. First that I'll talk about is spot welds. You have this support underneath here, so when you're cutting out, you do have to be careful of it, and you can see all the spot welds. I would take actually maybe even take a screenshot of this, and you're going to have the three here, one that you don't see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, one tucked in this corner up here that you won't even notice, and then these. Now these spot welds right here, you're really supposed to go into the corner. I don't. I drill most of them out, and then from underneath I cut them with the die grinder. I just didn't want to cut into this corner because that's just more of a headache that I didn't want to do. Then of course your spot welds on your torque box. This tool is a cheap Harbor Freight tool, but this piece right here, when you're getting rid of all the seam sealer, you're going to see a bunch of videos about how to get it off with heat and this and that. Just go buy this thing, and this takes 95%, maybe 90, over 95% off, and the rest of it's really easy to get rid of. Spot welds, I use a circular bit, and then I use the sander. Some people just use the sander. I like doing that because it gives me an idea where it is, and then I just kind of work at it, and it pops out. And then I use just a simple die grinder to cut out everything. Pretty basic forward. The hardest parts are going to be that corner, which I showed you in the last video, because there's a lip on the other side of this that you pretty much either going to have to try to get this. If it's in decent condition, you might be able to save part of it. If it's not, you just cut the whole lip out. It's just easier. And the torque box underneath the roll bar, underneath this box, and then right here, that's what I'm going to work on next, is where the floor pan connects to the body is spot welded. So I'm going to try. Normally I had some rust on the outside body, so I just went from the other side and just basically cut out, use the spot weld tool on the drill bit to basically drill it out. This metal is not too bad, but there is rust starting to form underneath there, so I'm going to try to use a sander and do it from this side, and let's see how that works out. And then this corner right here, that corner goes up and it's crimped, so I have maybe half an inch to get rid of that. I put a relief cut right on this pan. I can weld it up later on, but that just gave me enough movement that I should be able to cut on the other side and pull that little corner piece out, and then take this out, and then I could test fit the pan. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's not as easy just cutting like a Mustang floor or something where there's maybe one brace or two braces. I mean, the spot welds here, here. I mean, there's fucking spot welds everywhere. Spot weld here, spot weld there, spot weld everywhere. I mean, it's just a lot of fucking spot welds. So get ready, take your time, and you can do it. Okay, everything's prepped up and ready to be put in. Now I'm gonna go cut the floor pan. I put a rough stop, and then I coated over this because the catalytic converter's underneath that, so I put a heat enamel on there, so just a little bit extra so it doesn't rust. I can't get to it after the welding's done, so I figured I'd do that ahead of time. I also put a rust preventer on the inside of the torque box. Okay, it's all fitted in now. I sheet metal the screws back in. I put a couple of tack welds in to hold. Now there's a gap right there. That's just because I have to refit it. And yep, that's going to be a little bit of bitch, but I'm going to use a copper plate and some filler wire and back side, and then I will be able to do that. It's just going to take a lot longer than I wanted. But in general, 100% better. It's tight as a motherfucker. I bolted it all in. I marked out where all the spot welds were. I offset them a little bit. And I don't even have to screw those in because there's no give to it. And I didn't want to have the screw going all the way through the plate to the other side anyways. If I have to screw one in, if there's a little space, I'll screw it in. But in general, it went pretty well. Again, only issues I really had was fitting this thing's just a bitch. That corner relief cut here, and on the back plate relief cut, I bent it out, but this goes all the way under and comes back against it, so it's a complete pan. My pillar right here was all rusted, and you can't fit this pan with the pillar in there, so I cut that out, and as you can see, it was pretty toasty. So either I'm going to make a new piece, or I'm just going to use the copper and build up this one and grind it down, and then just put it back in there and weld it back in, and I should be all set with that. So other than those two problems, I mean, if you're going to do this, it's not going to be 5 seconds. Everyone wants the cup, no one wants the rain. This is a pain in the ass to do, so if you're going to do it, you're better off having the body off. If not, it's going to be a lot of work. The front floorboards are done. All this is, I had to build a piece here because when you buy the front floorboard, again, I'll insert a little video. Okay, I cut that lip of this piece and the floorboard off, and I made a new piece and connected into right over here. And then I took this piece, another piece, and that goes on top of it, and put little holes for the spot welds, and that's going to connect this to this, which will connect that to there. And that piece is all replaced, and then I can continue on with the floorboards. Okay, I put the pan in, it's all lined up. I put a few screws into this metal plate to secure it down, and then I saw a video, I think it's Fitz's Fabrication, and I'm trying something different. I left the metal behind here, and what I'm doing is I'm not cutting straight in, I'm cutting on an angle downward, and I'm basically cutting, pushing the panel, welding it. I'm going to do it all the way up there, all the way until I get to the torque box right about here. So that's all going to be butt welded. It's going pretty well, so I might even butt weld this seam right here, and then from that hole upward, those are going to be basically overlapped. I primered, I used basically a rust preventer and then a primer underneath there, so I know it's not the right thing to do to keep the metal there, but I just thought I didn't want to cut all that metal and go all the way to the body for the torque box, and I can't use this method on that, so I'm going to continue cutting and spot welding and seeing how this goes along. Okay, all the spot welds are done. I just wanted to show you how well this cutting out of the metal, and the reason you need to be able to get underneath, because you're going to be left over with this metal. But you know, so how I'm doing is I showed you I'm cutting a 45-degree angle and then pushing it down and welding it. This one's not quite done, but again, here's a piece of metal. You can see it lining up with the screw holes, and then you can see what I'm left with is a pretty decent butt joint. I just want to go over how I'm going to fix this. When I took the floorboard out, I had to cut the bottom of the pillar because that was rusted. I had to cut the bottom here because that was rusted and it's spot welded and it was just falling apart. So I just cut all the way over out, and I'm going to have to create a piece. So what I did was I took a piece of metal, took the shape that is rusted out, I cut it, I put it behind here, I took a mallet, and I kind of mallet it into place where it's gonna fit. Then I have another piece that I got still trim up, and that piece is gonna go underneath here, and then that's gonna get spot welded into place and then seam sealed so you'll never see it. But you can't just cut, I've seen people just cut a square out and that looks stupid, so That's why I put a bend into it. And if you can see right here, I basically sanded here and here, and I left everything else, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push it back here, line that up. I'm gonna spot weld it here, spot weld it here. I'm gonna take my Dremel and do a back cut, and then push this panel, and then do a butt joint. That's the only way. There's no way I can actually, there's too many bends. It's curving this way. It kind of curves outward and upward. I mean, there's no way of actually making that panel other than the way I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to start doing it and see what we can do. But if you can do your floor pans with the body off of your Jeep, do them. If you're going to do it with the body on, you're going to run into your frame, you're going to run into exhaust, you're going to run in, I mean, there's so many spot welds. It's just so hard to do while it's on the frame. I can see why people just do quick, cheap ass patch jobs, but this took me so long to do, but it's done right. Everything's solid, but let's get doing, okay? I'll do a couple quick videos of my progression. See you in a second. Okay, I don't know if you can pick it up, but here's my first cut right there. Now, normally, like you just saw in the last thing, when you're supposed to do this type of back cutting, this panel is on top and that's on the bottom, but I can't do it where I'm located, so I'm just using a Dremel tool and I'm trying to cut back a little bit. If you can see, this is going to be what you're going to be left with, the seam right here, which is, let me get a better feel. If you look at that butt joint, when I push that. So I'm going to weld the bottom first, then I'll cut this weld right here, and then I'm going to push that in and I'll weld again, and then I'll work my way around. But as you can see, oh shit, right there is what you're left with. And that's not a horrible butt joint. If you have to put some copper behind it, but I don't think I have to do that. I think it's going to be pretty damn close. All right, let me keep on going. Okay, just something real quick. Now, I blew through here, so I had to redo it. I was set too high in my welder. Okay, see, it's where right here the weld is. You can't weld all the way up because the metal is bent. So you're gonna do like 1 or 2 welds here, and you're gonna hammer dolly a little bit. I probably get another weld right here. Then I'm gonna cut this, and then I can push it up. But here's something important. On the back, well, after you're done cutting right here, see how I bent that back up? Don't forget to bend it up, or you're gonna weld your piece right back on, okay? Something you should know. But like I say, see how it's bowed right here? That's because of this. I can't hammer it until I cut that weld, so it takes time, but I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, I am back. As you can see, I'm spot joining as I go. I got up to right here, that's all cut. That's a pretty damn fine line. And then when I got to here, I realized I done fucked up. I'll show you. Here's the back side. Well, when you get to right here, I was gonna cut over. You can see my black line behind it, and you can see the line where I was gonna notch out. And what happened was, if I cut that, it's behind a pillar. I can't get that piece of metal out. So that kind of screws me. So I put a screw in here to hold it tight. I finished up my dolly work right there. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's another bend going rightward. So that's all done. So I'm gonna spot weld all the way up to here. I sanded this down. I'm gonna butt joint, overlap here. But I think with some sanding and work, no one will be able to tell. Another thing is that lip in here is all gone. So the last spot I have to weld anything to is right up there. So that's gonna be the new lip right there. So if you can see, I put a bend into it. I checked the other side, even though I fixed that side. It's pretty close. It looks pretty good. Okay, I'm back. It's hard to tell from this side, but the shape is still there. I lost a little bit of it because the overlap up here, I overlapped it up here, but it does taper, and then around here. There's a couple pinholes I gotta take care of there. But in general, You can't tell with the light, but I'll show you the other side. Came out pretty good. Like I said, I'm gonna hammer and dolly this a little bit more just to bring it out a little bit because I lost a little bit because of the overlap on top. But here's the back side. There's those pinholes I was talking about. And then this stuff, I'm gonna just take a little bit of fiberglass, probably fill that in and then round it off. But when it's all said and done, I mean, from a distance, not even from a distance, you're not gonna be able to tell. Now, the only thing is, I didn't finish this because I do gotta put the bottom lip, which I'm not gonna record because all it is taking this piece, trimming this off, and spot welding it in place. And I'm gonna probably use a couple sheet metal screws, spot weld in place, and then I gotta trim that side to make it look like the stock plate that was there. So I have a picture of the old one, so I gotta see where the holes is and everything. But then I gotta make a little extension right there, a little extension piece right there. But that's it. Like I said, I'm happy with it. Oops, sorry about the finger. Like I said, I'm happy with it. It's gonna come out pretty good. So we'll get back one more time. I just wanted to show you. Here's that piece I put in, the spot welded. This will get seam sealed. That's gonna get seam sealed in there. And back here, I had to put the tire back on for some other reason. That's there. That's all done, and you can see the spot welds here. This piece is in here. So that's solid as can be. All right, talk to you later. Have a great day. And if you have any comments, put them in down below.